Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Wednesdays con Wilma, where we read what entertains us. Thank you for stopping by. Please like, share, subscribe, engage with my channel, and let's get into today's content. First and foremost, apologies. Last week I tried my best to get the video out to you. I was having technical difficulties. I was using a camera. I'm currently back to my iPhone. I thought I was a graduate of YouTube University and trying to figure it out, but I got to go back and get some courses in because I needed to recognize how to really film with it, be comfortable with it. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. Originally, I was going to do a 2-for-1, but life was lifing, and I was only able to get into one book out of the last for January, which is also realistic, okay? Sometimes things happen. As much as we try to put time to read and finish up, I am about a good third of the book in of Fair Play, which I will wrap up by this week and come with more books about relationships for the rest of the month. Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby was one of my favorite books that I decided to pick out for January. The writing is stellar, it's beautiful, it's real. Some people might say that it's a long form, but I thought he was very much cut to the chase with the characters and the premise. So let's do a short, non-spoilers, some spoiler-ish review and get into Razorblade Tears. I love when a book gets right into it. As the reader, you are introduced to the main two characters, Buddy Lee and Ike, who both have sons who were gay, and were murdered. Buddy Lee and Ike are similar in nature. They both did a stint in different prisons, and they both really had a hard time grappling with their son's sexual identity. Their sons are married to each other, or were married to each other, and you get right engulfed into the story within the first 3 pages. You're first introduced to Ike and how he's going through it at the funeral, and then you meet Buddy Lee a little bit later on in that chapter, and Ike presents himself as, listen, I was that gangster type of person, but I'm trying to put that life behind me. And Buddy Lee is with the shits, okay? He is very much like, yeah, I'm about that action. We gonna see how far behind in your life did you really put into that. And this book really touches on so many things. First and foremost, grief. Obviously, they've lost the the love of their son. Regret, sexual identity, sexual expression, fatherhood, masculinity. So much is touched in on this book, and it is just written so beautiful. Like I said, it is one of my faves that I read for the month of January into February. Definitely a 5-star approach. So Ike is holding his hand, is you could have said anything about my son. You could have talked about his accolades. I believe his son was a news reporter, for the local news. You could have talked about anything, and you kept using the word abomination. You thought my son was abomination. Again, very much what it is. And he's holding up the line as people are trying to leave, and his wife is like, what are you doing? Let go of the pastor. Whereas Buddy Lee is very much a front. This is who I am. You introduced the Buddy Lee more so who he is. He is getting up late, and his landlord's knocking on the door, and he's basically hey, your rent's late. And he's like, yo, I just buried my son. And he's like, yeah, but your rent's always late. And so that enrages Buddy Lee, and he's ready to beat his ass. And we'll get into how that goes, but definitely it's just this regardless of what his son was or was alive, I feel that would be Buddy Lee, the way the book writes him to be, very much this is who I am. I am rough, I am rugged, and when I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to be bothered. The two team up together in a very I'm going to avenge my son's attitude, because they feel like the police aren't doing anything. You're introduced to Detective La Plaza, who's I feel kind of strings them along with these little bit of information of what he's doing, but that's pretty much the crux of the book. They have to kind of pair together to really give honor to their sons in their afterlife and figuring out who took their lives. I definitely enjoyed this book. Like I said, I enjoyed the way it read, the way you would honestly feel regret if you did not do right by someone as you love, that you're supposed to love, right? These complicated relationships between parent and child. Like I said, fatherhood, they're questioning their own toxic masculinity. Like they're speaking up for their sons in death in a way that they probably wouldn't have in life. They live in a small town. I don't know if these two characters would defend their sons had they been alive in the way that they did in death. And having to rectify that hurt, right? Like I believe Ike's wife kind of tells him, like, don't be speaking up for him now. Like, he needed you then. And I really did enjoy that type of writing of being like, we're not gonna smooth past that, time heals all wounds type of grief. Very much like, you should have done better, right? Like, because time is such a gift in itself, and we don't know how much time we have with folks. You should have done better. And she gives it to Ike every time, like, you need to do something about this, and you should have done something about this prior to. So I definitely enjoyed that style. And like I said, it tests that toxic masculinity. It tests that, what it means to be, what it means to have to go through sexual expression when you're not fully supported, and what does that look like. Ike is raising their daughter that they left behind, and having to grapple with, like, what do I tell you about your fathers? How can I talk to them about them in a way that little children warm your hearts, and parents try to do better in grandparenting that they probably did in parenting. So you get all of that in this book, and like I said, it's a solid 5 for me. I actually ordered some, I believe, if it's Blacktop Wasteland. I love when I am introduced to an author and I want to go back and read some of their books. So definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. Great freaking read. As always, I want to say thank you for spending some of your Wednesday con Wilma. Next week, we will be getting into Fair Play, wrapping up January, and we'll have a special little surprise. I brought some books off of bookoutlet.com, and we'll see what we get in a haul. Have a good one. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday con Wilma, and as always, read what entertains you, and you'll never be bored. Bye.